Hello, so I turned 22 yesterday, so I wanted to make a video on 22 things that I've learned in 22 years. Okay, so the first one is that there are hardships in life that everyone experiences and nobody is immune from. Like, I just feel like everyone has a life struggle. Like, there's not like one person on this earth that hasn't had some type of struggle. Like, even if you think of like some celebrities like Beyonce, like she's experienced heartbreak. I feel like some hardships, like being disappointed or like being heartbroken, like I feel like the earlier you experience it, the better, because then you can learn the lessons from it and move on. Like whenever like I reflect on like whatever has happened to me in the past, I'm always like, I'm glad that like this has happened now rather than like when I'm 35, because it's like I'm glad like I can go through this experience and learn the lessons from it and then move on and go on with my life, versus like learning it at like the age of 40. So yeah, the first one is that there are just certain life struggles that everyone experiences. Like everyone on this earth has a life struggle. Okay, so the second one is that the only thing that really matters in life is your health and your social relationships. And I say that because I've been working in a nursing home during this pandemic. Like I finished university last May and then I started working in a nursing home, so that just like coincided with when the virus started spreading into nursing homes. And I feel like working with older adults has just shown me like the only thing, especially during this pandemic where your health really matters, has just shown me like honestly the only thing that really matters is your health and your relationships. Like if you're rich and you have poor health, like your health is so poor that money can't like resolve it, like the money doesn't matter. And the nursing home that I work at has like directly been affected by the virus, and I feel like just seeing people at their lowest health state has just shown me that like really like the only thing that matters is your relationships and your health. Because like when you're at your lowest health state, like you want people to be around you, and it's like if you don't have that and then you have poor health, like what do you have? Okay, so the next one is a quote that I love, and it's like, what is for you won't miss you. And I just love this quote because if I'm ever stressed about something, I just love to tell myself like whatever is for me won't miss me, and like if it misses me then it wasn't for me. Like I just feel like anything in life, like whatever is truly for you won't miss you, and like if it does miss you then it wasn't for you. And I feel like you can apply that to like anything in life. Like if you're like applying for your dream job and you don't get it, then it wasn't for you, you know? Okay, so the next one is like, I feel like I've learned what it actually means to love yourself and what it actually means to like have respect for yourself. Growing up, like girls, we always get told like respect yourself and love yourself, but like no one ever tells you how to do that, or like what it even means to respect yourself. But I feel like respecting yourself, it's all about like having boundaries and like being firm about your boundaries because you respect yourself. I feel like loving yourself is about like not putting yourself around people or like in situations that make you feel bad or like make you question your own self-worth. Okay, so the next one is just like learning to be more private, and just the fact that you don't need to tell everyone everything. I feel like deleting my Instagram allowed me to learn this lesson because there just like wasn't really anyone to share what I was doing with. So yeah, I just learned like you just don't need to tell everyone everything. Okay, so the next one is that like if I'm ever saying like I don't want to do something or I want to do something, I don't need to give people like a really like complex like TED Talk like answer justifying why I don't want to do something or why I do want to do something. Like it's not my job nor my responsibility to convince people to see my perspective and like try to like persuade people to understand my point. Like it's like you'll either get it or you don't, and it's not my job to convince other people to understand my perspective. And I felt like for so long, if I ever wanted to do something or if I didn't want to do something, I had to give like this really like complex long answer of why I didn't want to do it or why I did want to do it. But now I'm just at the point where it's like I don't want to or I want to should be a good enough answer. Like you don't need to justify every single thing that you want to do. Okay, so the next one is like recognizing where I stand in people's lives and just like moving accordingly. I feel like for a long time I would kind of just like force friendships, or like I was basically just like watering dead plants. That's how I feel with a lot of friendships. Like I was always the one like initiating and like putting effort, and like the other person was kind of passive or like would just like straight up ignore me. But now like I feel like it's very important to like recognize where you stand in other people's lives, and if you clearly are not a priority in their life, then you shouldn't prioritize them in your own life. Like friendships should be reciprocal. Like you put in effort, they put in effort, they initiate, you initiate. It shouldn't just be one-sided. like there's always one person initiating, doing all the work, and the other person is kind of just like indifferent and passive. Just like recognizing where I stand in other people's lives has been a very important lesson that I've learned, and like not prioritizing people who don't prioritize me. Okay, so the next one is like the fact that like your thoughts, like your self-talk should be compassionate and like empowering. Like the way that you talk to yourself should be like how you would talk to your best friend. There's like 1 year of university where my self-talk was just so negative. Like the way I would talk to myself was just like so horrible. And it honestly just takes such a toll on your self-esteem when your self-talk, like the way that you talk to yourself is just negative and like just like mean. And I think like meditating has made me way more aware of my thoughts and way more like aware of like how important the way that you speak to yourself is. Like the way that you speak to yourself really influences like your reality. So yeah, just like becoming aware of the thoughts in my head and trying to replace them with empowering thoughts has been a very big like lesson that I've learned in 22 years. Okay, so the next one is like prioritizing things in my life that make me feel good. So like for example, like going to the gym and like my skincare routine make me feel so good. Like I just love going to the gym, and like I honestly love like skincare products and like getting into skincare and like doing my skincare routine. Like those two things make me feel really good. And I think like a part of self-care is like intentionally doing things that make you feel good about yourself inside. So the next one is something that I actually learned when I was watching one of Gary Vee's videos. He basically said like have zero expectations for every single person in your life and you will never be disappointed. And at first like it was kind of hard for me to accept this because I was like I don't think you should not have expectations for your friends or your family. Like, I understand not having expectations for strangers and like people that you don't really know, but people in your inner circle, like I don't understand why you wouldn't have expectations for them. But after like contemplating and like thinking about it harder, I totally agree. Like you should just be a good person for the sake of being a good person, and you should never really be expecting other people to be good back to you. Like if you're kind, be kind out of the kindness of your heart, and don't have the expectation that like because I'm kind to you, you should be kind to me. Just be kind because you are a kind person. Or if you're a good friend, like you should just be a good friend because that's important to you. Like being a good friend is important to you, and like you can't control other people's actions. So like not everyone is going to be a good friend back to you, but like that doesn't matter because you should just be good out of the goodness of your heart. Like it shouldn't be because you have expectations of people being good back to you. And like yeah, I totally agree. If you have zero expectations for everyone in your life, you will be so much happier because you're not expecting other people to treat you a certain type of way just because you treated them a certain type of way. Okay, so the next lesson is that in order to heal, you need to embrace it and like accept the fact that you're hurt and embrace it, and then you can move on. Like if you just like push away the feelings and live in denial that you're not actually hurt, you're just like prolonging the healing process. And like in order for you to like heal and like feel like you're finally yourself again and just feel at peace, you truly need to acknowledge and embrace the fact that you are hurt and that you're not okay, and then you can finally start the healing process and finally be okay again. But like pushing away your feelings and acting like you're not hurt doesn't do you any favors. That's like a big lesson that I've learned. Okay, so the next thing is like I feel way more confident and just like unapologetic about my blackness and just like the fact that I am black. And like a few days ago I was talking to one of my family friends, she's black, and like we went to the same high school and we were just like talking about our experiences being black in Canada. So like this girl, she's my neighbor, and like both of us, we grew up in like the white suburbs and like we went to white schools, and we just had so many similar experiences that just like made us feel bad for being black. Like for example, like I remember when I was in grade 3, my sister and I'm a twin, so my sister and I, we were having a birthday party. So like we invited all the girls in our class to our birthday party, and then the next day, like I remember we were on the bus and like this girl, like she gives us back the invitation and she was like, I'm not allowed to come to your birthday party because my parents hate black people. And I remember like when she said that, I remember like feeling so bad. Like, your parents hate me for something that I had zero control over. Like I just think like growing up in like predominantly white spaces and just having like experiencing so many microaggressions had such a huge toll on my self-esteem as a black girl, like as a young black girl. And we were just talking about how like now that we're older, we just feel so much more like proud and like unapologetic about our blackness. So the next one is that it's better to be alone than to be with people that make you feel alone. And I say that because I feel like the times in my life when I felt the loneliest is when I had when I technically had the most amount of friends, but I still felt alone. So that's why I feel like I would rather like actually truly be alone than to have like a bunch of friends around me that make me feel alone. And yeah, I just think it's important to just enjoy, like to genuinely enjoy your company and figure out how to like just find solitude on your own. I think that's very important. Or maybe it's just because I'm introvert, that's why I say that. I don't know. Okay, so the next one is just like to always stay true to yourself. And like you do that by like listening to your intuition or like your inner voice. Because like I'm never regretful about doing things that I genuinely like sincerely wanted to do. Like if it's something that I like sincerely wanted to do, I never have regrets. But if it was kind of like I kind of like felt peer pressure or like influence to do something and then I did it, and then it's like I find that I regret it because it's like I didn't even really want to do it. I just like wasn't staying true to myself. So yeah, just like always staying true to myself and doing what I honestly want to do is very important. Okay, so the next one, this one is like so important to me, and it's like a mantra, like probably like my #1 mantra, but it's like enjoy every season. And like the experience that made me like come up with the mantra like enjoy every season was this time when I was in France. And I remember like I think I was like sitting on this ledge and I was just like looking over the city, and for some reason I just like wanted to be back home. I don't know why, but that like I just like wanted to be back home. And I remember like I just had to like catch myself and be like, wait, like you literally like your whole life you've always wanted to be in France, you've always wanted to live in France your entire life, like this is what you wanted, and now that you're here you're wishing to be in another chapter of your life. So I kind of just had to like check myself. It's like awful, like even if like you're in like an awful like season or chapter of your life, you should still like deliberately look for things that you're grateful for. I think that's like very important. Like even if like you just like hate your current situation, like there are things that you have in this season that you're not gonna have in another. Like say for example, like if all of your family members are alive, that's something to be very grateful for, and that's something that you're not gonna have in another season of your life. Enjoying every season by deliberately like looking for things in your current season that you might not have in another season is very important. Okay, so the next one is that friendships are seasonal, and just like coming to terms with the fact that not every friendship is meant to last. And honestly, I feel like most friendships actually are seasonal and aren't really meant to last. Like most people are just in your life for a season and then the season ends, and there's nothing wrong with that. I remember like when quarantine first started like last year in March, I remember a bunch of people were saying like, oh, like quarantine is gonna show who your real friends are and blah blah blah. But I kind of just feel like seasons end. Like if you feel like quarantine showed who your real friends are, it probably like maybe it just means that the season of your friendship is over. I don't really think like just because someone isn't in your life anymore, like they were like a fake friend or like that was like a bad friendship. It's just like the season of the friendship is over. Like that's how I see like anyone that I'm not currently friends with, but like I used to be close with them. I just kind of see it as like the season of our friendship is over, and maybe we'll have another season and maybe we won't, but yeah, friendships are seasonal and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so the next one is that it's never that deep, and just like don't dwell on the past. I feel like sometimes I just spend like so long just like ruminating about stuff that has happened in the past, and like there's nothing you can do about it. Like it is what it is, it's in the past, just move on. I feel like other than death or like just like big like actual life issues, I feel like nothing else is ever really that deep, like ever. Okay, so the next one is like I feel like everything just naturally always just falls into place, and there's no point to like force it or like stress about it. With anything I've ever wanted in my life, like eventually it just like naturally falls into place and works out for me. Just like don't need to ever force anything. Like if it's gonna work out, then it'll work out, and if it doesn't work out, then it wasn't meant to work out. Okay, so the next one is like you can't run away from yourself. Like you can't just like leave your problems behind and like disappear to a new city. And like I say that because like when I studied abroad in France, I said this in a different video, but I like read a bunch of blog posts and a bunch of people were saying you can't run away from yourself. And like I remember like I didn't understand that until I got there. I remember like when I got there, the only difference was my setting, like was like my environment, the people around me. But other than that, like I was completely the same. Nothing about me had changed. and like all my problems, I like carried all my problems from Canada with me to France. Like, you can't run away from yourself. Like that quote that says like everywhere you go there you are is so true. Like everywhere you go you're gonna carry all your problems with you, just to a new location. The only thing that changes is your location, but like who you are as a person stays the exact same. So the next one is like learning how to forgive yourself for things that you did in your past that you were regretful of. A few years ago I was watching this video, and this girl, she was basically saying like, if you're ever mad at yourself about something that you did in the past, acknowledge that you would never intentionally do something that would make you feel bad or feel guilty or like feel shameful. And yeah, like whenever, like, you know, like those moments when it's like 2 a.m. and you're awake and you're just like cringing about things that you did like 5 years ago, and like you just like can't understand like why you did that. I always remind myself like the only reason why you feel regretful now or like you feel shameful now is because you know so much more information. If you were in the same situation, you would navigate it differently because you know more information, but you 5 years ago didn't have the current information that you have right now. So like at that moment you were truly doing the best that you could, and like you would never intentionally do something to make yourself feel bad. You honestly were doing the very best that you could given the information that you knew. And yeah, that has helped me a lot, just like deal with shame or regret over things that I've done in my past. Okay, and the last thing that I would say that I've learned is the fact that everyone has their own unique life calling, and to not be so judgmental over like how other people choose to live their life purpose. So like I say that because like when I was younger, I could just like never understand like, you know, like super rich celebrities who like don't do anything charitable. Like I could just never understand like how you can be so rich but you like don't feel compelled to like help with like homelessness, for example, or like food scarcity. Like I could just never understand like how you can exist in this world and like not feel the need to give back. But then a few months ago I was watching like this documentary on this couple in South America, and the father was kind of talking about how his life purpose is basically like the couple, they live in like this like remote village, and they were talking about, the father was saying how his life purpose is basically just like to provide for his wife and his child. Just listening to him talk about how he honestly feels fulfilled just giving back to his wife and his child, that like kind of like helped me understand like everyone has their own unique life calling, and not to be so judgmental on how other people live their life. Like, you know, like people have different ways of living a fulfilled life, and I don't have to understand that or like think it's right. Okay, so those are all the 22 things that I've learned in 22 years